Raj Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरी गोवर्धन की जय।
Jai.
वृंदावन धाम की जय।
Jai.
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय।
Jai.
गंगा माई की जय।
Jai.
जमुना माई की जय।
Jai.
तुलसी देवी की जय।
Jai.
भक्ति देवी की जय।
Jai.
समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय।
Jai.
गौर प्रेमानंदे।
Hari Hari.
Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Deshatadine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We're reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Lila chapter 10. We're here at text number 84. And yes.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Anupam Vallabha Shri Rupa Sanatan এই তিন শাখা বৃক্ষের পশ্চিমে সর্বোত্তম।
On the western side were the 43rd, 44th, and 45th branches, Sri Sanatan, Sri Rupa, and Anupama. They were the best of all. Purport. Anupam was the father of Srila Jiva Goswami and younger brother of Sri Sanatan Goswami and Sri Rupa Goswami. His former name was Vallabha. But after Lord Chaitanya met him, he gave him the name Anupama. Because of the work of working in the Muslim government, these three brothers were given the title Mullik. Our personal family is connected with the Mulliks of Mahatma Gandhi Road in Calcutta, and we often used to visit their Radha Govinda temple. They belong to the same family as we do. Our family Gotra, or original genealogical line, is the Gautam Gotra, or the line of disciples of Gautama Muni, and our surname is De. But due to their accepting the posts of zamindars in the Muslim government, they received the title Mullik. Similarly, Rupa and Sanatan and Vallabha were also given the title Mullik. Mullik means Lord. Just as the English government gives rich and respectable persons the title Lord, so the Muslims give the title Mullik to rich, respectable families that have intimate connections with the government. Thus, the title Mullik is found not only among Muslims, but also among the Hindu aristocracy. This title is not restricted to a particular family, but is given to different families and castes. The qualifications for receiving it are wealth and respectability. Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami belong to the Bharadvaj Gotra, which indicates that they belonged either to the family or disciplic succession of Bharadvaj Muni. As members of the Krishna consciousness movement, We belong to the family or disciplic succession of Saraswati Goswami, and thus we are known as Sarasvatas. Obeisances are therefore offered to the spiritual master as Saraswata Deva, or a member of the Saraswat family. Namaste Saraswate Deve, whose mission is to broadcast the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauravani Pracharine, and to fight with impersonalists and voidists, Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. This was also the occupational duty of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Anupama Goswami. The genealogical table of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Vallabha Goswami can be traced back to the 12th century Shakabda, when a gentleman of the name Sarvagya appeared in a very rich and opulent Brahmin family in the province of Karnataka. He had two sons named Aniruddha Rupeshwar and Harihar, who were both bereft of their kingdoms and thus obliged to reside in the highlands. The son of Rupeshwar, who was named Padmanabha, moved to a place in Bengal known as Noihati on the bank of the Ganges. There he had 5 sons, of whom the youngest, Mukunda, had a well-behaved son named Kumar Dev, who was the father of Rupa, Sanatan, and Vallabha. Kumar Dev lived in Patayabad, an area bordering Bakla Chandra Dweep in East Bengal, now Bangladesh. The present-day village of Prembhag, which lies near Ramshar in the Jessore district of Bangladesh, is said by many to be the site of Kumar Dev's house. Of his many sons, 3 took to the path of Vaishnavism. Later, Sri Vallabha and his elder brothers, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, came from Chandradweep to the village in the Malda district of Bengal known as Ramkeli. It is in this village that Srila Jiva Goswami took birth, accepting Vallabha as his father. Because of engaging in the service of the Muslim government, the 3 brothers received the title Mullik. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the village of Ramkeli, he met Vallabha there. Later, Sri Rupa Goswami, after meeting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, resigned from government service, and when he went to Vrindavan to meet Lord Chaitanya, Vallabha accompanied him. The meeting of Rupa Goswami and Vallabha with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Allahabad is described in the Madhya Lila chapter 19. Actually, it is to be understood from the statement of Sanatana Goswami that Sri Rupa Goswami and Vallabha went to Vrindavan under the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. First, they went to Mathura, where they met a gentleman named Subudhi Rai, who maintained himself by selling dry fuel wood. He was very pleased to meet Sri Rupa Goswami and Anupama, and he showed them the 12 forests of Vrindavan. Thus, they lived in Vrindavan for 1 month, and then again went to search for Sanatana Goswami. Following the course of the Ganges, they reached Allahabad, or Prayag Tirtha, but because Sanatana Goswami had come there by a different road, they did not meet him there. And when Sanatana Goswami came to Mathura, he was informed of the visit of Rupa Goswami and Anupama by Subudhi Roy. When Rupa Goswami and Anupama met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Benares, they heard about Sanatana Goswami's travels from him, and thus they returned to Bengal, adjusted their affairs with the state, and on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to see the Lord at Jagannath Puri. In the year 1436 Shakabda, AD 1514, the youngest brother, Anupama, died, and went back home, back to Godhead. He went to the abode in the spiritual sky where Sri Ramchandra is situated. At Jagannath Puri, Sri Rupa Goswami informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of this incident. Vallabha was a great devotee of Sri Ramchandra, therefore he could not seriously consider the worship of Radha Govinda according to the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yet he directly accepted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ramchandra. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, there is the following statement. Vallabha was given the name Anupama by Sri Gorsunda, but he was always absorbed in the devotional service of Lord Ramchandra. He did not know anyone but Sri Ramchandra, but he knew that Chaitanya Goswami was the same as Lord Ramchandra. In the Gaura Gunodesh Deepika 180, Sri Rupa Goswami is described to be the gopi named Sri Rup Manjari. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, there's a list of the books Sri Rupa Goswami compiled. Of all his books, the following 16 are very popular among Vaishnavas. 1. Hangshaduta. 2. Uddhava Sandesh. 3. Krishna Janma Titi Vidhi. 4 and 5. Radha Krishna Gunadesh Deepika. Brihat, major, and Laghu, minor. Stavamala. 7. Vidagdha Madhava. 8. Lalita Madhava. 9. Dana Keli Kaumadi Mudi. 10. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the most celebrated book by Sri Rupa Goswami. 11. Ujjvala Nilamani. 12. Akyata Chandrika. 13. Mathura Mohima. 14. Padyabali. 15. Nataka Chandrika. And 16. Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Sri Rupa Goswami gave up all family connections, joined the renounced order of life, and divided his money, giving 50% to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas and 25% to his Kutumba, family members, and keeping 25% for personal emergencies. He met Haridas Thakur in Jagannath Puri, where he also met Lord Chaitanya and his other associates. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to praise the handwriting of Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami could compose verses according to the desires of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and by his direction, he wrote 2 books named Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava. Lord Chaitanya desired the 2 brothers, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, to publish many books in support of the Vaishnava religion. When Sanatana Goswami met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord advised him also to go to Vrindavan. Is that? Oh. Sri Sanatana Goswami is described in the Gaur Gunadesh Deepika 181. He was formerly known as Rati Manjari, or sometimes Lavanga Manjari. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, it is stated that his spiritual master, Vidya Vachaspati, sometimes stayed in the village of Ramkeli, and Sanatana Goswami studied all the Vedic literatures from him. He was so devoted to his spiritual master that this cannot be described. According to the Vedic system, if someone sees a Muslim, he must perform rituals to atone for the meeting. Sanatana Goswami was always associated with Muslim kings, not giving much attention to the Vedic injunctions. He used to visit the houses of Muslim kings, and thus he considered himself to have been converted into a Muslim. He was therefore always humble and meek. When Sanatana Goswami presented himself before Lord Chaitanya, he said, I am always in association of lower class people, and my behavior is therefore abominable, very abominable. He actually belonged to a respectable Brahmin family, but because he considered his behavior to be abominable, he did not try to place himself among the Brahmins, but always remained among people of the lower castes. He wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilas and Vaishnav Toshani, which is a commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the year 1476 Shakabda, AD 1554, he completed the Brihad Vaishnava Toshani, commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. In the year 1504 Shakabda, AD 1582, Srila Jiva Goswami published an edited version of the Brihad Vaishnav Toshni named Laghu Toshni. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught his principles through 4 followers. Among them, Ramananda Roy is exceptional, for through him the Lord taught how a devotee can completely vanquish the power of Cupid. By Cupid's power, as soon as one sees a beautiful woman, he is conquered by her beauty. Sri Ramananda Roy, however, vanquished Cupid's pride. Indeed, while rehearsing the Jagannath Vallabh Nataka, he personally directed extremely beautiful young girls in dancing, but he was never affected by their youthful beauty. Sri Ramananda Roy personally bathed these girls, touching them and washing them with his own hands, yet he remained calm and passionless as a great devotee should be. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu certified that this was possible only for Ramananda Rai. Similarly, Damodar Pandit was notable for his objectivity as a critic. He did not even spare Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from his criticism. This also cannot be imitated by anyone else. Haridas Thakur is exceptional for his forbearance, because although he was beaten with canes in 22 marketplaces, he was nevertheless tolerant. Similarly, Sri Sanatana Goswami, although he belonged to a most respectable Brahmin family, was exceptional for his humility and meekness. In the Madhya Lila, chapter 19, the device adopted by Sanatana Goswami to get free from government service is described. He served a notice of sickness to the Nawab, the Muslim governor, but actually he was studying Srimad Bhagavatam with Brahmins at home. The Nawab received information of this through a royal physician, and he immediately went to see Sanatana Goswami to discover his intentions. The Nawab requested Sanatana to accompany him on an expedition to Orissa, but when Sanatana Goswami refused, the Nawab ordered him that he be imprisoned. When Rupa Goswami left home, he wrote a note for Sanatana Goswami informing him of some money that he had entrusted to a local grocer. Sanatana Goswami took advantage of this money to bribe the jailkeeper and get free from detention. Then he left for Benares to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, bringing with him only one servant whose name was Ishan. On the way, he stopped at a sharai or hotel, and when the hotel keeper found out that Ishan had some gold coins with him, he planned to kill both Sanatana Goswami and Ishan to take away the coins. Later, Sanatana Goswami saw that although the hotel keeper did not know them, he was being especially attentive to their comfort. Therefore, he concluded that Ishan was secretly carrying some money and that the whole hotel keeper was aware of this and therefore planned to kill them for it. Upon being questioned by Sanatana Goswami, Ishan admitted that he indeed had money with him, and immediately Sanatana Goswami took the money and gave it to the hotel keeper, requesting him to help them get through the jungle. Thus, with the help of the hotel keeper, who was also the chief of the thieves of that territory, Sanatana Goswami crossed over the Hazipur mountains, which are presently known as Hazaribagh. He then met his brother-in-law, Srikant, who requested that he stay with him. Sanatana Goswami refused, but before they parted, Srikant gave him a valuable blanket. Somehow or other, Sanatana Goswami reached Varanasi and met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the house of Chandrasekhar. By the order of the Lord, Sanatana Goswami was cleanly shaved and his dress changed to that of a mendicant or Babaji. He put on old garments of Tapad Mishras and took prasad at the house of a Maharashtrian Brahmin. Then, in discourses with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord himself explained everything about devotional service to Sanatana Goswami. He advised Sanatana Goswami to write books on devotional service, including a book of directions for Vaishnava activities, and to execrate the lost places of pilgrimage in Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him his blessings to do all this work and also explained to Sanatana Goswami the import of the Atmaram verse from 61 different angles of vision. Sanatana Goswami went to Vrindavan by the main road, and when he reached Mathura, he met Subudhi Roy. Then he returned to Jagannath Puri through Jharkhand, the Madhya Pradesh jungle. At Jagannath Puri, he decided to give up his body by falling down beneath the wheel of Jagannath Rath, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved him. Then Sanatana Goswami met Haridas Thakur and heard about the disappearance of Anupama. Sanatana Goswami later described the glories of Haridas Thakur. Sanatana observed the etiquette of Jagannath's temple by going along the beach to visit Lord Chaitanya, although it was extremely hot due to the sun. He requested Jagadananda Pandit to give him permission to return to Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praised the character of Sanatana Goswami, and he embraced Sanatana, accepting his body as spiritual. Sanatana Goswami was ordered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to live at Jagannath Puri for 1 year, and when he returned to Vrindavan after that time, he again met Rupa Goswami, and both brothers remained in Vrindavan to execute the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The place where Sri Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami formerly lived is now become a place of pilgrimage. It is generally known as Gupta Vrindavan or Hidden Vrindavan, and is situated about 8 miles south of English Bazaar. There, the following places are still visited. 1, the temple of Sri Madan Mohan Deity. 2, the Keli Kadamba tree, under which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sanatana Goswami at night. And 3, Rupa Shagara, a large pond excavated by Sri Rupa Goswami. A society named Ramkeli Sanskar Samiti was established in 1924 to repair the temple and renovate the pond. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Minitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Gatamayam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'd first like to ask the blessings and permission of the senior devotees, those who are senior by age, advancement in Krishna consciousness, or involvement in the Hare Krishna movement. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So this is a very elaborate purport. We're just being introduced here in Caitanya Caritamrita, pretty much for the first time, to the personalities of the 6 Goswamis, beginning with here Sanatan and Rupa Goswami and their brother Anupam. There's the verse from the prayers, Sad Goswami Ashtakam, to the 6 Goswamis, which you might know. Nana, you know this verse? Nana Shastra Vicharinai Kanipano Sat Dharma Sangstapako Lokanam Hitakaruno Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Nandena Mattaliko Bande Rupa Shanatana Raguyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. Can we go up to the top of this thing? Top of this purport? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So in Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano. So they're scrutinizingly, the 6 Goswamis, headed by Rupa Sanatan, are scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures, the Vedas. What's the purpose? To establish Sat Dharma, the eternal religion of devotional service, pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in so doing, they're benefiting the whole world. And we see later in this purport, so many literatures were compiled by Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami in pursuance of the order of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And within the ISKCON society, we have several of those books. We have, as mentioned, a very popular book, Nectar Devotion, which is a summary study of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And there's also the Upadeshamrita, and other books have been printed, but those were the original ones. So these Lokanam hitakaruno tribhuvane. They're beneficial for Lokanam, the people in the three worlds, not just on the earth planet. Radha Krishna Padara Vinda, and they're absorbed in the mood of gopis, and they're fully taking shelter of Radha and Krishna, and therefore they're worth taking shelter of, these 6 Goswamis, beginning from Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. So we are known in the Gaudiya Sampradaya as Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, Rupanuga. We know the prayer of obeisance to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya. What's the next line?
Rupanuaya Varayate.
Rupanuga Varayate. Yes, yes. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a Rupanuga. Namaste Gauravani Sri Murti Yinatarini Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Tvantahari. She Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is also designated as a Rupanuga, and Srila Prabhupada, following in that line, is also a Rupanuga. So here, in this first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is talking about this title Mullik, just like in Great Britain, some families are given the title Lord. You know how they become lords? They have to deposit some money with the king or the emperor. So then a certain amount, then they might be given the investiture of being a lord. Of course, they have to be somewhat respectable as well. And a similar way in Bengal, particularly, the title Mullik was given. So therefore, Sanatana Goswami's name that he went by prior to being given the name Sanatan by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, Shakara Malik, and Rupa Goswami, Dabir Kash. So these were their Muslim names, Mullik. So Prabhupada points out that Mullik was not only given to Muslim people, but also from Muslim background, but also to the those who were Hindus, as in this case, Rupa and Sanatan, but also the family that Srila Prabhupada was associated with in the Gautam Gotra, who's even though the Mullik family had a large area on Mahatma Gandhi Road that they had their dwellings, and they were also maintaining a nice temple for Radha Govinda. And within a sub-branch of that family was the Day family, which Srila Prabhupada appeared in, took his birth there. Mullik. Even though it sounds like a Muslim name, it can be also given for by the Muslim government, for Muslim rulers, for the Hindus also. So I see Acharya Prabhu has his hand up. Is that Acharya Prabhu? Or is that, yeah.
Yes, it is. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
This is really beautiful. If you can find it, I was really struck by it. If you could find it, could you reread and perhaps comment on that section where Prabhupada explains that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught through 4 persons, and he mentions those 4 persons and each of the particular qualities each of them had. I found that really fascinating, and I'd love it if you could revisit that.
Yes, we'll get that one after the other. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Acharya Prabhu. So an interesting point, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they belong to this Bharadvaj Gotra as Sarasvat Brahmins, means they're coming from South India, Karnataka, but then their ancestor moved north. So Srila Prabhupada makes the comment also. There's the Gotra can be in the family of the particular individual, like in this case, Bharadvaj, or it can be in the disciplic succession of Bharadvaj Muni. Just like in the Janava, there's Mother Janava. She has a line of disciplic followers, the pleasure potency of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, but not as family members, but as disciples of disciples. So they can be Gotra in both ways. And Srila Prabhupada comments that, which I had to be reminded of, you and I are known as Sarasvatas because we're in this disciplic succession of Saraswati Goswami. And obeisances are therefore offered as Namaste Saraswate Deve. You see there the Saraswate Deve? Sometimes you hear it said Namaste Saraswati Deve. What's the difference?
Saraswati Deve is off Saraswati Deva, but Saraswati is Mother Saraswati.
Well, it could also be Bhaktisiddhanta, but it's specifically Namaste Saraswati, unto you. It's addressing unto you. Yes, that Deva, the A is that way. Saraswati Deve. Yeah, so we said, and then Gauravani Pracharini, and then Srila Prabhupada comments here that to fight with impersonalists and voidists, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Desh, Western countries, Desha, Paschatya Deshatari, delivering the Western countries. See that word Paschatya, that's Western, Paschatya. So it was interesting when Srila Prabhupada came to Philadelphia and he was introduced to a professor who was a little bit rascal, and Srila Prabhupada argued with him, and there was some controversy about that. The next day, Reverend Swarup Prabhu, who had invited the professor, he apologized to Srila Prabhupada, saying he was for bringing such a person to meet him. And then Srila Prabhupada commented, no, just like here, this is the occupational duty. His occupational duty is to challenge and fight with impersonalists and voidists. So he chuckled. He was not disturbed with that at all. That was his job, he said. Interesting. So that's also, if we're in that Saraswata family, well, that's also our duty too. We just don't sit by and hear commentary from the impersonalists and voidists and say, okay, everything is the same. It's all good. No, not our occupational duty. Later, next paragraph. Yes, this is the talking about the family background, lineage of Rupa and Sanatan. So in now what's now Bangladesh, that area where the Rupa and Sanatan and Anupama appeared, it's in the Jeshore district of Bangladesh, which is kind of, it's further away from what's now West Bengal, central, about halfway between the border of Bangladesh and what's now West Bengal, and Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, is Jeshore. So there they appeared, and later they went to Maldal district in the town known as Ramkeli. And the reason for that was because Ramkeli in that area, and Malda in Bengal, was known as the capital, or was used as the capital by Nawab Hussain Shah. He had moved his capital there and was ruling from that region. And if you look at the geography of Bengal, down, Bengal has, there's the place near Calcutta. And if you go north from Calcutta, you come first to Shantipur, then you keep going north, you get to Krishnanagar, Navadvip is there. If you go a little bit northwest, there's Katwa. But if you keep on going north, the Bengal area Sinzal is a very small piece of land of Bengal between Bangladesh and the Bihar. And that's the area where Ramkeli is, that very thin strip of land. Then it continues to go north Bengal and opens up, and then there you have Siliguri and other places. But that small area north, quite north of Krishnanagar, that's where Ramkeli is, the working place of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. Okay. Later, actually. Let's look later.
Prananath Prabhu had his hand raised.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I have a question. In the previous paragraph where it talks about the Gotra, so do I understand it says, so we are Saraswati Gotra, is that?
Saraswatis, yes.
Because in the past couple of times I heard from one or two priests that Achyuta Gotra, so.
Yeah, sometimes that's said. Sometimes that's also said. That's in relation to our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But here we are known as Saraswatas if we're actually in the disciplic succession of Saraswati Goswami. Good point. This is more technically correct. Everybody is technically in Achyuta Gotra, especially if we're following the instructions of Achyuta Krishna. But this is this particular line in that Achyuta Gotra. Thank you.
I am
Yes.
from the Bharadwaj Gotra, but I am now both. I think both Bharadwaj and Saraswati now.
Yes. So are you Bharadwaj family or Bharadwaj disciplic succession?
Bharadwaj Gotra is our Gotra Bharadwaj, and my father's last name, brother's Bharadwaj last name.
Yes.
So
okay. So Bharadwaj had his disciples, great Rishi Bharadwaj, and he also had his family members. So either one would be Gotra. Do you know which one you're from?
I don't know. I just know that we are about Gotra. I know Bharadwaj Gotra and last name.
Yeah. Could be either way. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Other questions? So let's look at that paragraph that Acharya Prabhu wanted to review.
I had a question, Prabhu. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Okay, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Who is Saraswati? I know in Sampradayas, the different titles are also given. I think one is in Vaishnavas also is Saraswati, right? And in Shankaracharya also Saraswati is there or something? I forgot. There are a lot of list of titles are given.
Those titles are particularly for sannyasis, yeah.
Only particular for sannyasis, huh? Okay.
Yes.
So who is the Saraswati Goswami? Do you know?
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Yeah.
No, this is referring to, this doesn't refer to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami.
Yes, it does.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami came later, no?
I know. We are his followers. That's why you have this Namaste Saraswati Devi. Yes.
Okay. Oh, it's different to Bhaktisiddhanta.
But you said the Saraswats were from Karnataka.
That's a different Saraswat. Yeah, that's a different Saraswat. The Saraswat Brahmins specifically.
Saraswat Brahmins. But so this does not refer to.
I'm not saying they originally came from Karnataka. The Saraswat Brahmins, who were the forefathers of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, were living in Karnataka before coming to Bengal. Does that follow?
So just like Bharadwaj Muni, the Saraswat Brahmins were, they came from that genealogical line, from Saraswat Brahmins. I think what we are trying to understand here is the timeline. Saraswati Devi, this refers to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Yes,
The Saraswat Brahmins, they were there before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Yes, from time long back, even before the Lord Chaitanya and the six Goswamis and all.
Right, that's what I was.
Saraswat Brahmins is a classification, not necessarily, you know, there used to be a river Saraswati, which dried up over, some time. During the time of Lord Krishna, that was 5,000 years ago, the Saraswati River was just drying up at that time, but still it was flowing, and there were some hermitages and things like that on the banks of the Saraswati River. And Lord Balaram, when he went on tour, he visited some ashrams there, but later it dried up. So some say that the Saraswat Brahmins means those Saraswati, the Brahmins who used to live along the Saraswati River. Does that follow? But those Saraswat Brahmins, most of them moved away because that area became very desolate. Do you follow? So they went to different places, and in this case, and the ancestors of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami moved to Karnataka, but doesn't mean that they were always that the family was there originally. Just like now you have Marwadis who are in Kolkata, even though we say that they're Marwadis, right? But they're living in Calcutta because they're doing some business there.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, particularly as a member of Krishna consciousness movement, we belong to the family or disciplic succession of Saraswati Goswami.
Yes.
This does not refer to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Yes, it does refer to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Yes, it does.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was thinking it's some another Saraswati Goswami in the
No, it's a Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm glad we could address that.
Yeah, known as Saraswatas from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Yes.
Oh,
just like at Bharadwaj, he appeared at a certain time, and so after him, he had his disciples and his family members. So after him, he had his Gotra. So we have this Gotra, or the family of Saraswati after him. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Thakur.
So amazingly, out of this is the 48th branch, and this is most prominent branch then. And
very prominent, yeah, very prominent
branches much, yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada doesn't comment on it very much in this purport, but here it's said Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati, the Western countries, and that same idea of the Western countries is mentioned in the verse written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And how that applies, we'll see a little bit later in a few of the verses, but it's not very, very completely described. But it's very interesting that the family of Saraswati Goswami, headed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami and followed by Srila Prabhupada, then did spread the teachings of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami and Lord Chaitanya to the Western countries, the Western side, as mentioned. I see Mother Vindhyavali has her hand up there.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. I have a question, Prabhu. We, all these days, we do have some other Gotras, like Kutsasa, Kausikasa, and other sages only names. No? But now that I am initiated, so when we perform some puja and everything, so we have to mention our Gotra. So which one we have to, now I have to do, being an initiated person?
Good question. I know that in there's a book which tells about how to perform fire sacrifices, etc. Of course, that's not compiled by ISKCON. It's compiled by devotees who are involved with ISKCON, but it's not printed by the BBT or anything. So there it talks about Achyuta Gotra, but I don't know if they were aware of this. I didn't remember this either. So Srila Prabhupada is directly saying this is our Gotra, this is our family or disciplic succession, Saraswata. So I would go with this. They're not exclusive, but this is the closer Gotra. Just like, in the line of Lord Krishna, there was the line of Shurashen, and then before that was Yadu. So Yadu dynasty, he came in the Yadu dynasty, and before Yadu there are other persons, but the closest important person here we have is Namaste Saraswate Devi. That's just my take on it, but I've never. When Srila Prabhupada did fire sacrifices, etc., when he didn't necessarily have people announce their gotra that I'm aware of. He did it relatively simply. So
not only fire sacrifice, we do any puja. So when we are doing archana or anything, so we usually mention.
What was that last one? You said when you do any puja, then you mentioned one thing.
Any archana.
Oh, archana. Okay.
So anything we do for temple or anywhere, so we always used to mention the gotra, not only fire sacrifice. Fire sacrifice, of course, we do.
Yeah, in the Satya Sankalpa, you have to announce your gotra, and marriage ceremony and all stuff.
Anywhere.
Well, I could take up that. I would take up that. I'll ask. Let me ask the deity worship minister. He'll know. I'm just running across this, and I was thinking about it. So those are good questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's go to what. A little further, yeah. Yeah, 4 chief followers. Among them, Ramananda Roy, exceptional for though through him the Lord taught how a devotee can completely vanquish the power of Cupid. By Cupid's power, as soon as one sees a beautiful woman, he is conquered by her beauty. Sri Ramananda Roy, however, vanquished Cupid's pride. Indeed, while rehearsing the Jagannath Vallabh Nataka, he personally directed extremely beautiful young girls in dancing, but he was never affected by their youthful beauty. So Sri Ramananda Roy personally bathed these girls, touching them and washing them with his own hands, yet he remained calm and passionless as a great devotee should be. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally certified that this was possible only for Ramananda Roy. So in other words, other devotees in the Hare Krishna movement, it's not a good idea that we should personally bathe young girls. That is, we should gather that, yes. And trying to show, oh, Ramananda Roy did it, therefore I can do it. No, but the advancement, one of the signs of advancement in Krishna consciousness in devotional service is that one becomes disinterested, unattracted by material allurements. Bhakti parishanu bhava viraktir anyatra syat. Their attraction is so much to Krishna that other things become uninteresting, and that's exemplified by Sri Ramananda Roy. Of course, Ramananda Roy was not a sannyasi, a renunciant. That's another thing. So, in Jagannath Vallabha Nataka in Puri at that time, the girls, unmarried girls, would perform dances and plays for the pleasure, exclusively for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath in the temple. And it was, others were not allowed. Only the deities would be witnessing these plays that were done and dances by these girls. Later that was stopped. I don't know. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, are you
Yes,
still there?
yeah.
Do they still have Devi Dasis?
No, there's no performance but there's no such performance at this time.
Okay, in Puri, yeah. At a certain point during the British period, there was some effort by either British people or others to take advantage of the girls, so it was abolished. Then Sanatana Goswami was specially noted for his humility, and as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, Nicha Jati, Nicha Sangi Patita Adhama. When he approached Lord Chaitanya, he said that I'm born in a low family. He was thinking that way. Nicha Sangi, and I'm associated with all kinds of bad, low people. Nicha Sangi. Patita, I myself am fallen, Patita, Adhama, and I'm the lowest among persons. So that was his approach to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya appreciated that humility of Sanatana Goswami. When Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami first met Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya was there on his first attempt to go to Vrindavan. The first time he attempted to go to Vrindavan, he decided to go following the Ganges River for most of the way. And he went with quite a few followers there. But even if you go along the Ganges River, it doesn't seem like you would go north to the northern part of Bengal. So he particularly went to, some say, he particularly went to Ramkeli just to deliver Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, who were there serving the Muslim king, Nawab Hussain Shah. It's said in the Bhakti Ratnakara that how did it come to that they were taking instruction, as mentioned here, from Vidya Vachashpati, who was the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and who happened to be a Vaishnava. So they had advancement in Krishna consciousness, but they became beholden to the king there, Nawab Hussain Shah. Some say it's because the Shah really needed people, administrators who the people would trust, and they weren't going to trust him because he was known as a tyrant. So he threatened Sanatana and Rupa Goswami, who were that if you don't work for me, that I'll kill you, and not only you, I'll kill all the Brahmins and Vaishnavas in this area. That's said. So the Rupa and Sanatana weren't worried about themselves, but because of the threat, they seemed to be beholden to Nawab Hussain Shah, but they knew it was a bad situation. And although they did very good government service, people were very pleased with them, and their fame spread all over India. But then they wrote letters, correspondence to Lord Chaitanya to see how can they get out of this situation. It was very, very difficult, because they had to follow the orders of the king. And the reason Nawab Hussain Shah wanted to bring Rupa and Sanatana to Orissa was because he was doing a campaign to fight against Maharaj Prataparudra, and they refused. And that's one of the reasons that he imprisoned Sanatana Goswami, particularly Sanatana Goswami. So Lord Chaitanya received those letters and the correspondence from Rupa and Sanatana, and then later when he was coming there, north on his way to Vrindavan from Puri. He stopped there, and Rupa Sanatan, they took straw in their teeth and bowed down before Lord Chaitanya, and they prayed to him to please deliver them from the situation. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes, yes. He accepted them and gave them the names Rupa and Sanatan at that time. Rupa and Sanatan, and then said, he told them very soon, Krishna will take care of you. Don't worry. And he left. He didn't go to Vrindavan, but he understood. Rupa and Sanatan advised him that it's not a good idea to continue with so many people on the pilgrimage. So he took their advice and went back to Puri that time. So Sanatana Goswami, Haridas Thakur, beaten in 22 marketplaces. Oh, that's the other. And then who was the third? The second one? Damodar Pandit. Damodar Pandit. Yeah. Each one of them, Damodar Pandit was criticizing Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya was, we went over this in when we reviewed Damodar Pandit, his branch, but he criticized Lord Chaitanya or chastised him because he was seeing a young boy devotee who was the son of a widowed young Brahmin woman. So he thought people will talk. It's not good. Would you have any additions, Acharya Prabhu, on this? No? Okay. So this is very full. Oh, wow. It's really late already.
Actually, I do. It just took me a couple of seconds to extricate myself from work.
Okay.
My only comment is that, especially about Ramananda Roy and Damodar,
yes,
that Prabhupada says, about both those two in particular, he says they can't be imitated, only they could do it. But the principles that they're doing is still for all of us.
Good point.
Even if we can't do it like that, we can't behave like Ramananda Roy, but we're expected to control lust. And we can't criticize like Damodar did, but we could still have some, objective, standard of philosophical truth that we work by. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Good points.
But I really love how Prabhupada singles out those four and draws, specific qualities from each of them. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. So this Rupa, Sanatan, and Anupama. Those are the branches we're talking about today. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Anupama. Prabhupada said once here in this purport, Anupama Goswami. I don't know about that, but so it's getting late. Any
Anupama
other questions?
Means, Anupama means incomparable or excellent.
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 Okay. Thank you.
And Acharya Prabhu had put it in the text when the handwriting was being described, that it's like a row of pearls.
Row of pearls, yes.
Ramsham Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it is mentioned for the Sanatana Goswami was having valuable blanket. That is also having the pastime, right? When Lord Chaitanya saw him with a valuable blanket when he got renounced. So how you are having the valuable blanket, so he came to somebody, to the beggar, and he exchanged that.
Yes. When he arrived there in Varanasi, his brother-in-law gave him that blanket, I believe, the brother-in-law. So that it said later in Caitanya Caritamrita that the Rupa and Sanatana Goswami had a sister, and he stopped at the house of the sister and brother-in-law on his way from Bengal Bengal to visit Lord Chaitanya in Benares. So Lord Chaitanya, Sanatana Goswami was asked to stay there, but he didn't stay. There are many pastimes of the 6 Goswamis that exhibit their special position with Lord Chaitanya. We say that Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtang. Lord Rupa Goswami understood the mind of Lord Chaitanya and his desire to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. There's a couple of anecdotes. We read here that there's the Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava. Lalita Madhava and Vidagdha Madhava. One is about the activities of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan, and the other is about the activities of Krishna in Dwarka. Which is which?
No.
Lalita Madhava is Vrindavan.
You'd
Right.
think that would be the case, right? But you'd be wrong. It's the other way around. Lalita Madhava is in Dwarka, and Vidagdha Madhava is the activities in Vrindavan. Actually, originally it was going to be only one work. He had it in one work, but as he wrote a summary of it and was thinking about it on his way to meet and to present to Lord Chaitanya. And in doing so, he had a dream. And in the dream, Satyabhama, the wife of Lord Krishna, came and said, no, you should have two. You should have 2 dramas, one for Dwarka and one for Vrindavan, because the nature of devotional service in those two places are different. Svakya ras and Parikya ras. So he agreed with that and expressed that to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya said, yes, that should be 2, not just 1 drama. Also, Rupa and Sanatan, because they were living in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada mentions that Rupa Sanatan, Rupa was, he treated his elder brother as his senior and spiritual teacher also. So one time Rupa Goswami was thinking, how would it be very nice to be able to make a cook a nice feast of prasadam for his elder brother who was coming to visit, Sanatana Goswami. He just had this thought in his mind, but he had no ingredients or supplies. He was just living as a mendicant there. So then a young lady came by just then as he was chanting and meditating on this idea, and she said, Baba, we just had this big yajna nearby, and we have all this leftover ingredients for making sacrifice. Can I bring them for you? And he said, yeah, this is just must be Krishna's arrangement. Yeah, so he made this elaborate feast for his brother Sanatana Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami, he was accepting that prashad. He said, now wait a minute, where did you get all this? Where did you get all this? And from these supplies? And he said, well, there was this young girl who came by, and he said, describe that young girl. So Rupa Goswami started to describe, and Sanatana Goswami said, you accepted the service of Srimati Radharani. This is, we're supposed to be servants of them, but you're accepting the service. You have to be very careful about that. Srila Prabhupada tells that anecdote. So Rupa and Sanatana Goswami are very elevated. We're following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami particularly. Hare Krishna.
I heard a little different version of that actually. But was it Sanatana Goswami's birthday? Was there Rupa Goswami wanted to offer him some sweet rice?
Yeah, I know. What I said just there was from what Srila Prabhupada said on a tape. I know that other versions are there too.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not necessarily exclusive. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and some versions the sweet rice, I know. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripas.
Kripasindhubhyo namo.